Hello everybody, we are the Geeks and the Giants. I am Enzo, this is my forever co-host John, and today we continue our crime week with Gone Baby Gone, the crime thriller, or like, would you consider it a crime thriller, or like detective mystery?
It is.
Yeah, directed by Ben Affleck, starring his brother, Casey Affleck. And it's a very interesting movie that raises a lot of questions, especially towards the end when you're like, holy fuck. But before we get there,
Yeah.
yeah, it's set in where else? Boston, of course, because that's all
Boston.
Boston. That's where all of
Go
Affleck's
Swats.
yeah, that's where all of Affleck's movies are apparently, especially the
Yeah.
crime ones.
I guess you really can't put that fucking town in his rear view, you know?
I guess not. Like if he directed the Batman, maybe Bruce Wayne would have a Boston accent too. That'd be pretty sick though. Not gonna lie.
Tell me where the drug's going.
Yeah, right, exactly. But yeah, this stars Casey Affleck, Michelle Monaghan, Morgan Freeman, and like it's about Casey Affleck's character trying to find Amanda McCready, and like you think it's straightforward of like, alright, she got kidnapped, and you think it's by this drug gang, and it just spirals into this rabbit hole, and you're like, I thought I knew everything, man. Apparently
Same
not.
here.
Yeah,
Yeah, dude, like, even me, I was like, shit.
yeah,
I thought this was just gonna be straightforward, but it's not.
right.
I love it. You know, like, also Casey Affleck. Fucking bravo. Like, I don't see him as the main character in a lot of movies.
Yeah,
And then there's this one movie that he's in recently. Like
Oppenheimer.
it was like, yeah, he was there, but he wasn't like the main character. But he
Yeah.
was terrifying.
yeah,
But yeah, something about a lake or something.
Hmm.
People said it's really good. He does a really good job there. And I'm after watching this movie, I'm like not surprised. This is my first time watching Gone Baby Gone. Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Like, you get a sense of how you think it might be straightforward, because there's even the captain who's like, of course, he has like a past where his kid died, and you're like, yeah, I can imagine that. And it's portrayed by Morgan Freeman, and you're like, never heard Morgan Freeman so, what do you call that? Like, weathered. Like, he's just tired. He's usually like the sage of wisdom. He's fucking Lucius Fox in Batman. He's like this pillar of sunlight, but here's this like, can you stop fucking around without my consent? And you're like, oh, I never heard you say that ever.
Yeah.
Um,
Like, but yeah, and I do love the characters that are like we get introduced to, like what's his name again? Like Royce or something?
the detective Remy,
Remy?
yeah,
Remy.
by
Remy and
Ed Harris. I like
Yeah.
that guy.
I did not expect Ed Harris to play this kind of character with this much depth. I'm like,
Yeah,
damn, man. You're
um,
usually what, like the general or like the captain of something.
yeah,
Very one-dimensional, kind of just like, yeah, he's top brass kind of guy.
yeah. Also, that just starts out like you think you know what you're getting into, but then you meet the mom, Helene, and you're like, I don't think you're the best mom. Not gonna lie.
She isn't. Like, yeah, so Casey Affleck's character is a private detective,
Yeah,
and the stepsister of the mother who's missing her child finally just goes off to Casey Affleck and is like, hey, I don't know if the cops are doing anything, and they can't get anything, but you know everybody in this city.
yeah, and
Can you get us some answers?
yeah.
And he,
There's a sign
Yeah.
earlier on that she was with her doll, Mirabelle, and that's a very important thing to remember by the end.
yeah,
Um,
hush. That was my favorite part. Don't ruin it. But keep that in mind. Yeah.
Yeah.
So like they're missing this doll, Mirabelle, and it's her favorite doll. And I'm like, all right, we got clues, we got stuff.
Yeah,
We're going from like one part of the town to the other. We're going to bad places
Yeah.
and like making friends and making enemies.
yeah,
And the dialogue between Casey Affleck and like the people he interrogates, it's so fucking good.
yeah. Ben Affleck, like this is his first time directing, and I think he's written stuff before, like with like Good Will Hunting, but like this is his
Yeah.
first time directing and writing, and I'd say Ben Affleck did a one hell of a job, and that's why he does other stuff like The Town and Argo's not the best, but like the town and this one is why people were like, imagine what you can do with the Batman, and we'll keep imagining because that's never fucking happening. But anyway, but yeah, like the dialogue is great, and you find out that Helene is like works for this drug lord, Cheese, and like I do love that scene when he's like, by the end where he's like, you know, if you're the girl's last hope, like I hope she ends up well, because if you're the only one she's depending on to come home alive, then she's gone, baby, gone, and you're like, God, that was smooth. Holy fuck.
Yeah, I'm just like, man, people just pulling strings and everything. I'm just like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
You know, like,
and
like
Casey
yeah,
Affleck knows everybody, so he has connections. Like, he's not afraid to like get rough. Like when he's interrogating that one guy in the bar and people start causing problems, and
yeah.
like people are starting to like say horrible stuff about his girl, and like he just pistol whips a
He
guy.
just not gonna lie, that shit was awesome because I'm like, okay, the guy can throw hands too, so I'm like,
Yeah.
mad respect to this guy.
Yeah.
You gotta love how like everybody can just like, like bust your balls and then just like be friends after and just cooperate. I'm like, I don't know how Boston works.
I love the scene when they're like, when he enters the bar, he's like, the bartender's like, what, do you expect me to make this kind of drink? I forgot what it was. But like after he throws hands, he like points the gun at the guy and he's like, what, you want problems too? He's like, no, fuck you. He's like, fuck you, make me a drink. You stupid fuck. And you're like, what the fuck? This
You
guy's
say a lot of words that we can't say nowadays.
yeah. But yeah, everything goes to shit with a deal with Cheese, and like you see poor Amanda in the lake, and you're like, how the fuck did this go so wrong? Cheese is
Right?
dead. She's dead. We're fucking like Angie from the start is like, hey man, if we get into this, I don't want to find her body in like a trash can. Like, I don't want this to end badly, and it does. And you're like, and even the mom, who's not the best, is also like, you see her character for a bit, and you're like, I hope the deal works out. And like, by the time the deal goes south, you're like, we have 49 minutes left. What the fuck is about to happen?
Yeah, what else? The job's done.
Right?
Yeah, but I do love that though. It's just like we're kind of in the same shoes as Casey Affleck because like what happened? What went wrong?
Yeah.
You know, like everything was going well. Not gonna lie, I don't think it would have worked in like real life, but
Yeah.
it was going so well, and we're just like, what happened? And we're like 49 minutes left, and there's this like maybe 2 months later, they're like, yeah, the kid's gone.
Yeah.
We just had to face the facts like that kid is dead.
Yeah. Morgan Freeman has retired as the captain, and you're like,
Yeah.
that's why you're like, what the fuck's going to happen now? We're done,
Yeah.
right? This movie,
Yeah.
this movie itself is gone, right? No, it's another kid missing, and it
Yeah.
gets
Yeah. I
fucked.
was like, oh shit, okay, like a redemption story, like that's great. I like that. You know, he calls, he gets like a little bit of information from his buddy,
Yeah.
like early on into the movie that like, hey, the PDF file guy.
Yeah, the PDF
and
file
these
guy.
two drug dealers, including Hector Salamanca.
Yeah. Fuck. Yeah. It's a shame he passed away. He's a great actor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think he was also in.
He's in a lot of stuff, dude. Like, we just
Yeah,
never
yeah.
noticed until you were like, hey, it's you.
Yeah. Anyway. But yeah, so we're we're going into this drug den.
Yeah.
Kind of like a scene straight out of like Resident Evil 7.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they kind of get information. They see that, hey, this guy has the boy's necklace
Yeah.
that they mentioned in the news.
Yeah.
And they're like, all right, let's get the two guys that helped us with the case before to
Yeah.
help us here, because this might be our main culprit. He might have done something to
The boy.
Amanda.
Yeah, and Amanda and
Yeah.
the boy, and like it goes out, and like, but Casey Affleck like finds evidence that that is like cold hard evidence that like, yeah, this guy is the guy, not for Amanda, but for the poor boy, and you're like, is there?
Shut up!
It's like, is
You're
there?
smart.
I thought the boy would be at least alive. No,
Yeah.
it's fucked. Like, you feel like Casey Affleck in that scene. You're like, I think I'm about to throw up, dude. Not gonna
Yeah.
lie. And he executes the guy. But, like, after that whole thing goes down, like, he and Remy have an exchange of, like, would you do things differently? And Remy's like, no. And he mentions something like, I knew this guy, and it's the suspect who was beaten up for stealing money from Cheese. And you're like, thought you didn't know this guy. But I do love the dialogue of Ed Harris being like, hey, man, if you're not on my side, if you do stuff to kids are just innocent, and if you do anything to hurt them, you better run when you see me, because I'm gonna put you down. And you're like, I've never seen you like this. Okay.
Same here. Like the dude was straight up terrifying with his goatee. And I'm just like, shit. By the way, like, I love that this is when we started treading on, like, the main meat of, like, this movie.
Yeah.
Like, the gray area when it comes to decision making in this kind of situation.
Yeah.
Where, yeah, this guy is a horrible person and stuff like that. But Casey Affleck's like, I don't feel
Great.
great about shooting another person or killing another person. And, like, I was like, yeah. But deep down in our hearts, we'll be like, that guy doesn't deserve to live.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I'm like, this could have been handled better.
Yeah.
And that's where Casey Affleck's at. And I'm like, all right, we don't know where is wrong or right, or where it teeters or totters. So I'm like, I'm starting to like lean in a little bit more. I'm like, okay, as we go through this movie, and then stuff is getting sus. Yeah, he had that conversation with Ed Harris, and he's like, you said you didn't know this guy. What the hell? And Ed Harris is like, he kind of like knew that, hey, I slipped up. And he's like, and like when Casey comes to him, he's like, hey, that thing you said about last night. I'm like, I drank a little too much rum. Best that we keep that out of our out of this conversation. I'm just
Yeah.
like,
Starts to
oh, he knows he slipped.
starts to unravel, and they interrogate the brother, and like he starts to crack, even though at first he's like, I don't know anything. What are you talking about? And then you
Great
get
mustache, by the way.
yeah, starts to unravel, and you're like, oh, this is why we have 49 minutes left. Holy fuck, this is unraveling fast. And like find out that like out of a sense of self-justice, he's like, hey, I can get money and give Amanda a better life, or like hopefully, because her mom, he tells the story of the mom leaving Amanda in the car, and you're like, yeah, you're not the best, you shouldn't be a parent in my opinion, but who am I to talk shit? But at the same time, morally speaking, no.
Yeah, and I will mention something later on about the uncle, or like the brother of like the mom.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah. So they're like, but at the same time, I'm just like, she's like a daughter to me.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, why aren't you acting like you've lost the world if she was?
Yeah.
That's what I'm like. I'm like, you're a little too nonchalant about this. But anyway,
Yeah.
a random robbery happens. And I'm just like, where is this movie going?
Yeah, and the guy just is like, what do you say? Can you shut the fuck up? And you're like the rest of them, you're like, am I going deaf? What's he saying? And like he's like, you should have kept your mouth shut. And you're like, oh, okay.
Yeah, and I was like, oh, that's Ed Harris.
Yeah.
And like Ed Harris gets like shot.
Yeah. You know, going back, like I don't think I can be Casey Affleck when I get the shotgun pointed at me. I don't think I could keep being like, it was Remy, he did it. I think I'd be like, oh, don't shoot me, please.
Not gonna lie, Casey Affleck's character is a little too haphazard, especially when his girlfriend is right beside him.
Right.
I'm just like, do it when you're alone. Not gonna lie. If I was a private investigator, I've been like, babe, get down. I'm gonna do something stupid.
But yeah, like after Remy dies, it starts to unravel more, and like I'm like, yay for talking about the niece he loves so much. He isn't like too distraught that she fell down the fucking reservoir, you know?
Yeah.
I thought that'd be the hardest part to get through, but no, like you start to think, and you're like, who else could be involved? And it just all rose to Jack Morgan Freeman, and you're like, it can't be him. He has such strong morals, and you see Amanda come out of the house, and you're like, what the fuck?
I was like, dude, when I saw that scene, I was like, no. Then it like a beautiful mind. It all like, I was like, oh shit.
And like,
because like earlier, yeah, go on.
I love the line of like Casey Affleck being like, I'm gonna call the police, and Morgan Freeman being like, hey man, I know you want to do this, but come back 30 years later, and like, let's have this conversation. And I'm like, he's right though. He's kind of right.
Yeah, right. I'm just like, fuck. But yeah, it all starts to make sense. The reason why the uncle it wasn't so distraught is because he knew she's still alive.
Yeah.
They didn't do it for the money. They did it for the kid. And like the entire time, Ed Harris is actually a good guy. A little, not a good guy, but he's like, you get where he's coming from, but you don't. I don't really,
he
align with his methods.
Morgan Freeman, and the uncle all know that Amanda hasn't been given the best cards in life, and this is their chance to give her a winning hand. And you're like, you just hear the conversation. You hear, I love both sides of Casey Affleck being like, yeah, but she's gonna come back to me years later, and she'll be like, why didn't you bring me back to my family? I had none of the birthday parties or the sleepovers would matter because you didn't bring me back to my original family, and that's all I knew. So what the fuck?
Yeah, I was stolen. Yeah, I'm just like, he has a point also. Like, both parts are correct.
Yeah.
In some degree.
Yeah.
Both parts are wrong in some degree. Yeah, I'm like, oh shit.
And like,
I'm eating well when it comes to the dialogue and the writing. I'm like, it's such a good scene. And he goes back to his girlfriend and she's like,
sprinkles more gray on this gray matter.
Right? She's like, you have to leave her here.
Yeah.
She can't go back to that.
Yeah.
Because she saw firsthand what the mom is like. And it's like, you're pretty much damning the kid for putting him in a house like that when she could be happy with this guy.
Yeah. All we need to know years from now is that what grade she is, and because she's been happy for years, she has birthday parties and sleepovers and has the life she deserves, and you're just being, as the audience, you're like, I'm being torn apart. How is this movie gonna end?
Yeah, I'm like, what am I gonna do? And then you hear Casey Affleck is like, don't ask me to do something I cannot do. I'm like,
yeah, and she's like, if you do this, I can't live with it. And you're like,
I was like, oh god. And I'm like, what's gonna happen? It's just quiet, and then you just see a police cruiser come in. I'm like at the same time, I'm like, but he's somewhat right. But he's like, but he's somewhat right. And then, like, yeah, Amanda gets returned back. Casey Affleck breaks up with his girlfriend because they don't see eye to eye when it came to that decision making.
yeah.
And you're like at the end of the fucking movie, and you're just like, I think it's working out. The house is a little bit cleaner. The mom is doing a bit of a better job, but she's still a little bit iffy.
Yeah.
She's still drinking, and she's like, didn't get a babysitter beforehand leaving.
Yeah.
So she entrusts Casey Affleck to just like, hey, can you just like
look after her,
watch over my kid?
Mm-hmm.
And the part, beautiful fucking writing, amazing fucking writing. He goes to the little girl and is like, hey, is that Maribel? And the little girl goes, Annabelle. And it's just quiet. It's just quiet. Casey Affleck filled with regret. I'm just like, even I was like watching, I was like, no. No.
Can you just imagine, like, have you seen a child with a doll named Maribel? And the person would be like, I've seen the girl with a doll named Annabelle, not Maribel. And you're like, fuck, she'd be fucked either way. Fuck, you're a horrible mom. Go away. I don't like you. This whole situation is fucked.
Right? I'm just like, oh god, you made the wrong decision, but at the same time, it's technically correct.
Yeah.
I'm like, not gonna. I do agree with Casey Affleck. I was like, why did you have to kidnap her?
Yeah.
Bring her to social, the social service.
Yeah.
like, oh sorry, what was it called again? Social Security or something like that?
Social services in the U.S.
Yeah. I'm just like, yeah, that's true. Why couldn't you just done that
Yeah.
and maybe become the girls like guardians or something? I don't know how it works,
Yeah. But no.
but that fucking broke me. I was like, I, I was like, oh.
You're like I hate you, Ben Affleck. Like that was such a gut. That's the definition of like a gut punch. Because you're like things are working out, and just no. I'm like, why? What the fuck? The movie's done. No. What the fuck are we gonna do now?
My mom doesn't even fucking know the name of her favorite toy.
Right?
I'm just like, I was like, because I was like finally on Casey Affleck's side, and I'm just like, damn it.
Right? Perfect definition of like, even though it is painful, it's a perfect ending. I'm like, I wouldn't
Yeah.
have it end either other way, because
Yeah.
like aside from like if someone turned to stone somewhere, like Amanda would be like with Jack, with Morgan Freeman for the rest of her life, and this movie has a happy ending. But that's not the tone we set. That's not the big picture we're setting up here. It's like sometimes you are really just handed these cards in life, and you just have to do your best, and that's all you can do. And you're like, fuck, what the fuck? Like I know
Yeah.
that's a live thing, but I don't want to see it in the movie. Jesus Christ, I don't want. For once, I don't want to see art imitate life and vice versa. You know.
Mhm.
All that being said, what would you rate Gone Baby Gone?
Fuck, dude. Casey Affleck's performance, Morgan Freeman's performance as well. Even though it was kind of short-lived,
Yeah.
and Ed Harris's performance, in my opinion, was a really big highlight because I'd never seen him like this before.
You're right.
Absolutely amazing. The story, the pacing, the writing, in my opinion, was so fucking good. Because this movie kind of like turned us upside down, right side up, and then upside down again. And I'm just like, it had two twists, and I'm like, the fact that Casey Affleck was just like a random like equation that just comes in. He's just kind of just like this. What do you call it?
Wild card.
Wild card. There we go.
Yeah.
There you go. Who comes in because of the wife of the brother-in-law? No, sorry, the brother. It's just like crazy on like how he just gets dumped into this situation, how gray his situation was, and how beautifully written and how beautifully it was shown. Like, my God, I really wish Ben Affleck wrote that and directed that Batman movie,
Right.
because we could have gotten something like this. And
Yeah.
I have to say, not gonna lie, this is my favorite Ben Affleck movie now that he has ever directed, and I give it a 10 out of 10. There was not a slow moment. The dialogue was great. There's a couple of slurs here if you're a little bit sensitive to that.
Yeah.
That's just a bit of a warning.
Yeah.
But other than that, dialogue's great, writing's great. The ending, I loved it.
Yeah.
Like, it made me question my own morality as well. And I'm like, shit. So it's a 10 out of 10 for me. This, and you know how like, oh, I'm glad I watched it, but I'll never watch it again. I would gladly watch this again.
Yeah.
I'll gladly watch it with like friends who enjoy thrillers, with my mom or my girlfriend who enjoy thrillers. This is a fucking great movie.
Yeah. Yeah. Fuck it. I'll give it a 10 out of 10 as well. Like, I can't really find a fault. Like, it starts so slow, and then by the end, you're just questioning yourself even. You're like, what do I stand for? What are my morals? And, like, everybody's great. From, like, Morgan Freeman to Michelle Monaghan. Ed Harris, definitely. And, like, definitely Casey Affleck from, like, the moments where he's questioning himself, like, you. And, like, the small moments where he's like, nah, fuck you, make me a martini. And you're like, that's fucking great. All right. But yeah, it's just such a well-written, well-directed movie, and like it's one of my favorite crime thrillers. Like the first time I saw this movie, I was literally sitting by myself, being like, "What do I stand for? What are my morals?" Especially when in gray situations like this. But like, if a movie can leave you with that impression, I say it's a great piece of art. And to the audience watching, if you were Casey Affleck, what would you do?
Right? Like, he got hit with two weird situations where he's like, both are correct
Yeah,
and feel correct, even though both are somewhat wrong.
yeah,
I'm like, what? Where he kills the child diddler?
yeah,
But people are like, yeah, you did the right thing. When he's like, I don't think I did.
yeah. Like,
And then now he has this part too with the kid.
Yeah.
I'm like,
yeah,
ah. So good, so good. Watch it, please.
yeah.
Watch it.
And like they present both arguments like this. There's no like, or like, It's just like here is the gray platter.
Perfectly balanced, like
Yeah.
all things should be.
Exactly. But yeah, that's been our video on Gone Baby Gone. What do you guys think? What's your favorite Ben Affleck movie? Whether he stars in it or directs it, whatever it is, please comment below. If you like our stuff, please leave a like and subscribe to the channel. We're also on Spotify and TikTok. TikTok to see your best and funniest moments. Spotify to yours on the go. In the video, I'm Ems Wolf on Letterboxd and Zoda's Voices on TikTok. Where can they find you?
Or you can find me at JohnJuM_ on Instagram. It is my art account.
And until the next one, we'll see you then. Bye, everybody.
Ciao.